Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Crew Quarters with Atticus. This is a show based around the NSL. We're looking more at the individual stories, at the people from who are playing the game rather than the admirals for whom tactics and strategy is the most important thing. We want to. This is about hearing from the guys who are on the ground, the guys who are on the crews. So, without further ado, let me introduce who I've got with me today. First of all, I've got Davy Queen from
Hello.
who plays for the Krakens. Davy, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Davy Queen. I play for the Krakens as a part of the KRA/KRN. Yeah, that's me.
Excellent, excellent. We've also got Shum from the Royal
Royal Blackfleet.
the Royal Black Fleet. Take it away.
Yes, and also from Isar, so practically both are correct. So, hello.
Excellent. We've also got Seawolf of the Leviathans.
Yes, hello. I'm Seawolf. I'm a captain with the ex Lemerx fleet, which is the Leviathans, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We also have Triangle from the Boner Partnership.
Hello. Yes, I'm from the Bonner Partnership. I'm a captain, but I also double up as a gunner, so I'm happy to be here.
And finally joining us is Treehouse Animations, also of the Leviathans. Hi, Treehouse.
Hello, everybody. Treehouse Animations here, captain for Lemerck's Pirate Fleet, and yeah, happy to be here.
Great, great. Now, just before we go on, I'll just let the audience who are watching know that all the video playing at the minute is just so that something is playing rather than just a crest on the screen. So we're not actually talking specifically about what's on the screen, but it's something to look at as we go. And for anyone interested, it's the VOD of the match one, which was between the Krakens and SCP-38. So, um, these guys here today are with us here today because they are part of the top 10 highest scoring players, i.e., their total scores over the 4 games that they've all played are among the top 10 highest scores in the NSL so far. So, I mean, first question is where are your points coming from, guys? So, let's talk to Seawolf first because he is top of the leaderboard at this particular bracket of the leaderboard. So, Seawolf, where are your points coming from?
I've been fortunate, and I mean, outside of the time that I worked with the Krakens, Davy Wolf was Davy. Davy was on the Carronade, but the last 3 games I've been given and merc for both the first RM and the Seawolves for their Carronade, and they put me on that spot, and I played that spot for the Leviathans, Sunday as well, and that's where most of my points are coming from because the Carronade has the longest range and can do the most damage and causes more damage than side cannons.
Okay, well, that's quite interesting. Quite a bit of an insight to anyone listening. Yeah, the Carronade gets you points, it seems. Just going down the list here. So, Davy Queen. Uh, I don't know most. I only know here Treehouse and Seawolf. I don't really know the rest of you. I do recall Davy from the XNL, which was a precursor competition to the NSL, and I remember you particularly impressing during the two-gun competition. So again, I gotta ask, where are your points coming from?
Yeah, no, that just to touch on that two-gun thing a minute. That was my first time playing two-gun that competition, so that was fun. Um, as for the NSL, I was on the carronade for the first match, as Seawolf said. But after that, I think a 13 gun, an 8 gun, just with one cannon to myself if it doesn't get exploded. So the points have just been coming in slowly, but they have built up, which is nice.
Good, 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 good. So next I'm going to go to Shum from 8th LR and Royal Black Fleet. Shum, I've never really crossed paths with you. I don't play many events with the 8th LR. So yeah, I mean, again, you're another one really high up there. Where are your points coming from?
I would say most of the points came from the first match and first match. On the first match, we had a lot of boarding action on this British 13 gunner, And in the first match, I was sitting at the cannonade. I was top 1, had more scores than anyone else on both teams. So yes, cannonade and boarding actions.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at your stats here. Like your total kills for across all 4 games is 36, which is the highest of anyone here. So that is, that boarding action seems to have done you really well. So Treehouse, a fellow captain, in our regiment together. Where are your points coming from? Because I know you haven't captained at all yet this competition.
Yeah, my points came from just doing simple, good old side gunnery. A bit of boarding too. I was on that British 13 gun for the first match with the Karen. Um, and that was a lot of really fun, hectic boarding. We demasked the enemy ship and we de-gunned them too, so they couldn't even hit us back. And it was fun. But yeah, most of my points came from gunnery, and then just also spotting out enemies on rowboats too, especially with carpenters trying to solo board and chop down masts. That was a lot of fun. Take
Yep.
him out with train shot.
Carpenters have become rather the Achilles heel of a lot of ships so far. And finally, Triangle from the Bona Partnership. Again, we've crossed paths during events. We go to a lot of the same events together, so we play with and against each other on a regular basis. But I don't really know you that well. So where are your points coming from?
Well, some people might say you're lucky not to know me. But yeah, I mean, my captain points came from the game. I believe it was the second game of the season, so I have to big up my team for that. You know, they did some excellent shooting to get me those captain points. But on all the teams that I've merked with, I've been lucky enough to just get a gunner seat. And I believe it was when I was with Seawolves, I got 3 or 4 cannon hits and took out a few people with that. So I believe that stacked up my points nicely.
Well, yes,
Mm.
that Seawolves versus the Vod Coalition game does stand out as a big one for point scorers, especially for anyone who was merking with the Seawolves that day.
That
Because
was a fun match.
it was.
That was a fun match.
So you've all talked about what positions you've been playing. So I take it a lot of you will favour those positions. Is there anyone here who may have got these points from these positions, but doesn't particularly favour that position and would rather be playing in a different position?
No.
I would
A
say
no from Seawolf.
Okay.
I would say
No.
I'm enjoying the points from doing gunnery. I did sadly miss out on being able to be captain, so I've been excited to captain. But I don't know, it's kind of a tough say. I like captain, but I also like gunnery.
That's
Yeah, I mean, from my side of things, like I'm fairly new to being a captain in the naval scene. Like I probably just started being captain maybe like what 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So yeah, so my main focus has just been being a gunner. So the captain thing is a whole new world to me.
it's a fun world to live in. Well, that's excellent. That's excellent. I know you've all mentioned you've merked, and I think I know what the answer's going to be because I think I've already had the answer to this. But are there any standout teams that you've merked on that aren't your own? Shum, anyone you've merked on that stands out?
Good or bad?
Good.
Then Karen was good and fun. Definitely was one of the funnest one. Not necessarily the best performance. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying it was
Yeah.
definitely fun.
No, that's good. That's hey, you guys are having fun. That's great in my eyes. Um, Davey, any team stands out that you've merked for?
I'm not too sure really. I get really bad when I'm gunning, where I just lock in and I kind of tune everything out. So nobody's like overly stands out to me, but that's a me issue, not a them issue,
That's
if that makes
absolutely
sense.
fair. This is all about the individual.
Yeah.
Triangle. Anyone in particular stand out for you?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, you know, the Seawolves, right? I was lucky
Mhm.
enough to be on the winning side for that game, and it's just a beautiful match where everyone just got shots off and everything exploded. But also, I've been lucky enough to play with the Leviathans and rub elbows with Seawolf while he's at the front, so to speak. So that's always a treat.
Always love a compliment. We always love a compliment. Seawolf, anyone you've merked with that stands out particularly?
I can't really call out a particular team, but I have to say that I love playing with the Sea Wolves, and that we have a similar name.
Yes,
but
yes.
I've also enjoyed playing with the KRN and the first RM as well. So
you've had
I've
good experiences with everybody you've merked for.
Well, I believe so. I mean,
Yeah, that's
I've
great.
given my best.
That's great. No, if you've had good experiences with every merc, that's all we can ask. And Treehouse.
I don't know. I had a lot of fun with almost everybody's team I marked for. But I think KRN and the Seawolves are gonna be KRN first RM and the Seawolves. Are gonna be are my teams I've had the most fun with so far.
So yeah, again, everybody you've merked for, you've only merked 3 times, mate. But that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I'm glad nobody's sitting here going, oh well, just.
Well, I mean, every team has been very open and accepting, and they're like, "Here's your role. This is what we want you to do." And KRN had their setup, and everyone else had their setups. And as a merc, I'm like, I'm just here to serve. Tell me where you want me, and I'll do what you need me to do.
And that brings up an excellent point, actually. That does, because mercenaries are a big part of the NSL, an absolutely massive part, really. And as you said then, everybody has their own setup with how they deal with mercenaries. It is probably, logistically speaking, the most difficult part of setting up the game, especially with how little time you've got. 5, maybe 15 minutes maximum to get your mercenaries. Now this is talking for the admirals. They've got 15 minutes to get their mercenaries, and I mean half of these mercenaries have had to jump into new discords, get acquainted with new discords. Some discords have more security than others, as we know. So it has been quite amazing that of all the feedback we've had on the NSL, there's been no major negative feedback around the logistics and the organization of the mercenaries. And I know the organizers behind the scenes at NSL also are doing a lot of work on the mercenary pre-game. They've got to get all the mercenaries in and make sure they're aware of which team they've been assigned to and things like that. So I think maybe a good question would be, has anyone, and this is open to the floor, was anyone pleasantly surprised with just how smooth their assimilation into a team as a mercenary was?
I didn't have a problem with any team that I merked with. I mean, it was, this is your role. This is what we want you to do, and it was smooth.
Was it pretty much the same for the rest of you guys?
Yeah. Pretty much any team I've jumped on, they've just been like, hey, you go here, you're on this ship. And communication's been flawless for the most part. So it's like just playing with the normal people you would play with. They're just new.
Yeah, exactly. Like, from my side of things, just jump into a Discord, they direct you to a VC, they welcome you, everyone goes, yep, nice to be here, happy to be here, all that sort of stuff. We just then go to our ships and then we get given our orders. I think it also helps that, because we're in the quote unquote naval scene, there probably is people that we've played with before in the other regiments anyways that kind of know, this person, I know this person, let's get him in here. So it goes quite smoothly, I think.
Quite a very good point there, actually. Very good point. What about you,
Well,
Shay?
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, everything was great for most of the time. I heard back from my other fellow regiment members that played another team about their experience, and their experience wasn't that great. But I'm not gonna mention it because it wasn't me. So
yeah, and that's fair not to name names, but I'm sure they may. Well, I hope they would have fed the information back to the admirals of that team and said, look, this is what we found a bit difficult. Maybe work on this. So again, we're still in pre-season. We're calling it pre-season this season between now and November. No, December. December we end. And part of this pre-season is just to work out all these kinks and things like that. You know what I mean? To find issues and challenges and to overcome it. So any memorable moments anybody's got? I want to get you guys start talking to each other now. So I'm just gonna triangle. Give me a memorable moment that the other guys can riff off that's happened to you during the NSL.
Oh, well, there's been quite a few, but I do remember in the first RM's game, there was this moment where we demasted the 13 gun, right, and it just sat there in the middle of the ocean, and there was like this just eruption of like people going, "Yes, come on, we've done it!" And I don't know whether you guys have the same feeling, but when you get that 13 gun bogged down, it becomes like such a good feeling. Like, oh yeah, we've got this. We're gonna do this now. Let's hit it with all we've got.
Was
No,
that the first
I
game?
agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I interrupted. Was that the first game you were talking about?
No, this was the Bonapartes versus the
Ah, right.
Jackals, I believe.
I was going to say, because that happened to our 13 as well. We were just stuck in the water. It's rather frustrating when you're the ones being stuck.
But we were stuck on that, and we didn't sink.
No, we did not
And
think.
we actually deployed a rowboat to push the boat. Do you remember, Davey? I mean, we were on a rowboat pushing the boat around to turn it.
We didn't get very far, but we did manage to turn, yeah.
We didn't, but we didn't sink, and we did the best that we could with the situation.
So let me get
Yeah.
this straight. You guys were on a rowboat trying to reposition your what had become basically a battle barge to
Yeah,
fire
pretty
on
much,
the
yeah.
enemy. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I've seen it before, but I always love it. I always love it. And it's a
Yeah.
great little move. Treehouse.
What do you?
Oh, sorry. Go.
Oh, sorry.
No, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, what do you guys think when like you essentially become a floating tank on the water without any mass? Do you kind of like stuff the knuckle down and start shooting, or do you like panic? Or
It was more a
little bit of-
sense of, well, we're here now. Well, we're here, we're stuck. Wait for them to come to us is about all you can do.
Yeah, I think that round we lost a crap ton of cannons
Yes.
on that 13 gun, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I think one side was fully wiped out and we had maybe one or two on the other side.
Yeah, and we were trying to use the rowboat to position ourselves because we were demasted to position ourselves in a way where we could actually fire and be effective.
We
But
didn't
we
even
never
have that
sh-
much health to do anything
never
with it
sank.
afterwards either. Yeah.
Never
It was
sank
close.
though, and that's why the Krakens won.
That brings up a great question I'd like to get you guys' opinions on, because one of the key aspects of the NSL are the ship HPs. The ship HPs have been increased exponentially. Those 13s, as Davey probably put it, are now floating tanks, basically. How are you finding the sheer punishment that these ships can withstand now without sinking?
I'm loving it. It's fun. They feel like tanks, as you were saying. Especially with like normal pub games, you kind of just do a couple of cannon explosions and it feels like the things go down faster than a rock. But it's nice to feel like they're actually really big, intimidating ships, and especially going up against them too. Definitely scary for the smaller ships like the 8 guns, which they also get a health increase, but still, outgunned, out healthed, and all that. But
Outranged.
it's great. Outranged too, yeah, especially with no carronade.
Yeah, and I can totally agree with that. I mean, the 8 guns, they do seem to be able to put up with more punishment, but once fire's focused on them, they still shred down pretty quick. Shum, what do you think to the HPs on the ships?
Now that you mention it, 8 gunners, do they have more HP too?
Yes, yeah. The only ship.
Okay, that explains a lot of things.
Right. Okay. Yeah. They have. I think their HP pool is either 7 or 8,000, and the 13 gun has 12,000, I believe. I may be wrong about the 8 gun, but it's somewhere in that range.
Not that important, but now it actually explains a lot of things to me. Because on a searching gunner, fighting searching gunner, you don't really feel that. But on 8 gunner, I remember the ridiculous amount of times I had to hit it with carronades, and it's still refusing to sink.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and this was getting my frustration was like I hit it 15 consecutive times and it's still floating. And
Yeah.
I'm like, come on!
Yes. That I can imagine that is quite frustrating.
I think it is good though because it does make the 13 guns become essentially a formidable opponent to deal with. But on the flip side, it makes you the biggest bounty if you're the captain or if you're the crew. So good luck.
It does, it does. I mean, and I believe that was the thinking behind it. You know, we bandy around the term flagship a lot. Even in the events that our regiment run, we have flagships identifiable on the field. However, they don't feel like flagships because they go down just as easy as everything else. Everything else.
Well, I mean, cannon explosions become imperative. You have to destroy the enemy's cannons.
Yeah.
At that point, they're out of the picture. I mean, whether you sink them or not is part of the win, but just getting those cannons out of your position and destroying them is imperative.
So defang the opposition, effectively. Is that what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we touched on carpenters earlier and and demasting. Has anyone here been involved in some particularly interesting boarding actions? Because along with the improved HP, it's allowed ships to get closer. And the large number of players involved means that boarding actions are a lot more of a they are a legitimate tactic in mid-battle. So, anyone got any
The-
boarding party stories for us?
Well, it's obviously got to be that first round, the Kara and Carol.
Yep,
That match,
Yeah.
like two 13 guns put up against each other along the side of the map. We're beating each other hard. Masts are coming down. Cannons are being blown up. It's intense, and ships are getting boarded too. People are dying everywhere, and it is just crazy. It's great.
I mean, and even for me as the carronade for the last 3 rounds that we've had, I'm calling it out. I'm like, I need protection because I'm not a melee expert. I'm not good at melee at all. I'm like, I need protection. I'm like, I need you guys up here so I can continue to shoot. And all the teams that I have played with have dispensed people to protect me or protect the captain. So melee play is a big part of what's happening right now.
Definitely. It keeps control of the enemy ship, you stop their gunners from firing back at you, and that gives your gunners a chance to take out the enemy guns, make them defenseless. It's very important.
Oh yeah,
Or
and
if
then
you
you
just
bring the
solo board
carpenters in.
too. Yeah, solo board too, because the punishment for if you get killed on your own ship is you're out for 30 minutes or 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
It is. Especially if you're on a cannon and you have it loaded and it's ready to go, and you're like, I'm dead. Please shoot that cannon off before it explodes.
Yeah.
I do recall. I think it was during the Bona Partnerships game against the Jackals, game 2. 2 8 guns got pretty close to each other, and I think at one point one team had actually taken full control of the enemy
Yeah.
8 gun, and then the respawn started, and it swung. I think it swung the entire other way because the ship that had been left to take the enemy ship was left undefended, and a rowboat of about 5 or 6 people just rolled on up behind it and took it over. It was quite something to watch. I don't know if anyone was involved in any of that, those shenanigans, but yeah, that's something that comes to my mind. Um, is there anything? So we're getting close to the half-hour mark, and I did tell you guys that I'd only take you for half an hour, 45 minutes. But is there anything anyone here would like to talk about or would like to mention as part of this discussion?
I think that overall, for anyone who plays Holdfast, if you really do want to get the true experience of what Naval feels like, it's definitely these kinds of competitions. So, for anyone out watching there, feel free to join any of the regiments.
Just
Join X.
just a bit of a plug there for the NSL as well. And
And
remember, if you
go.
are listening and aren't in the NSL, you're always welcome to come and be a mercenary. These guys have merked 3 times for other teams and played for their own team once, but all these points go towards the end of season awards. And we're keeping quite detailed stats, or as detailed as the game will allow us to stats. There's some I wish we could have, but we can't quite have that without expending hours and hours of manpower. But yeah, just on the plug side. So is there anything else anyone wants to say to get off their chest, or big yourself up if you want?
Well, I mean, I'd just like to say just how nice all the regiments have been that are in the NSL, right? Because when let's be honest here now. Sometimes in Holdfast, you can get the old toxic player coming in and arguing and kicking off, but in the NFL, it's just nice. At the end of every game, everyone says GG to each other, essentially shaking hands. In the Discord, everyone's nice to each other. No one's flaming each other. No teams are arguing with other teams and shouting back and forth about like, "Oh, you did this to one of my members." It's just all been nice, peaceful, happy times.
Well, that is absolutely great to hear. That's what we want to foster, a positive, friendly atmosphere here. It is competitive, and people will take it seriously, and it's great. But at the end of the day, they also realize that win or lose, they're getting to compete, they're getting to have a good time, and that's, for me personally, that's a joy to see. Um, but no, we have just hit the half-hour mark, so I think I'll start wrapping it up there. Before I do, is there anything anyone else wants to say? I want to make sure you guys get to see.
Yeah, I would say it really shows that regiments can really work very well together if they want to, compared to line battles.
Well, I do have a bit of line battle experience myself, and to be honest, yes, the coalitions have shown, and I know some of this. We've got some teams that are just whole regiments, and we've got a lot of teams that are coalitions of 2, maybe 3 regiments. But like you say, they are all working together pretty well. I mean, there's not been much individuality, and it's
Uh,
great to see
the,
a lot of these
the
regiments are taking.
the collaboration of these regiments that are separate, all coming together, and their cohesion is just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I was driving at. That
Oh yeah, like the first round we're working with the 63E, and they've just been like great to work with. Just got a fantastic relationship with them,
that's great.
so it's been amazing.
You guys were part of a coalition during the XNL as well? Who was that with?
Oh, I'm not sure because I wasn't part of that. This is my
Oh,
first ever league.
okay, excellent, excellent. I'll have to search the old memory banks to remember who First RM teamed with in that particular competition then. But so Davey, any final remarks? Anything from you?
I don't think so, to be honest. I think everything that I was going to say has already been touched on.
Excellent, excellent. Well, in that case, it's just for me to sum up. I'd like to thank my collaborators here today: Seawolf from the Leviathans, Treehouse Animations from the Leviathans, Triangle of the Boner Partnership, Shum of the Royal Black Fleet, and Davy Queen of the Krakens. My name is Atticus. I've been your host for today, and have a good evening, everybody. Take care.